Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home. Into the wild I'll go, and into the wild I am. It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Welcome to the Freebirth Society podcast. This is a radical space for women who are ready to celebrate their autonomous choices in birth, motherhood, and beyond. Together, we'll learn about wild birth through personal narrative, we'll explore the politics of birth, and we'll analyze everything that relates to our lives as women from a feminist perspective. Here's your host, Emily Saldea.
It's been a while, freedom child, since I left my roots back home.
Is birth work your calling? Do you long to witness and support the awesome power of women as we make life, form kinship, and transform the world through undisturbed, mother-centered birth? In your most expansive vision of your life, are you the authentic midwife of your community? Walking in total grace, reciprocity, and trust with women through the sacred portal of pregnancy and birth? Then our groundbreaking Radical Birthkeeper School is for you. It's an immersive and intensive, fast-paced live program in all things authentic midwifery and self-mastery that will give you the blueprint and guidance to launch a life-altering, world-shaking radical birth brand and business. Think birth business mastermind, life-changing coaching intensive, deep dive into all things birth, step-by-step roadmap for serving women authentically, and the wise woman initiation that you have been dreaming of, all rolled into one epic program that will change your entire life. It is time to become the lighthouse that guides women home to themselves. Head over to radicalbirthkeeperschool.com and grab your spot, because we are enrolling now and we always sell out. Say yes to your calling and join us in this revolution of bringing birth back home. www.radicalbirthkeeperschool.com. Emily, a graduate of the Radical Birthkeeper School, shares with us today her journey from maiden to mother. In Emily's pregnancy, she navigated loneliness, cutting off most of her family and friends to set boundaries to protect the energetic field of herself and her pregnancy. In this episode, we discuss the importance of the postpartum time, how she found a community of like-minded sisters in the Radical Birthkeeper School, and how she welcomed her son into the world with her husband as her sole witness. All right, welcome, Emily.
Thank you for this opportunity, Emily.
Yeah, double M's. It's nice to have you here. You were in our RBK round and famously free birthed in the middle of the of the program. So I'm excited to get to actually hear the full story. I got to see you in the afterglow over the screen. But yeah, just take me to the beginning. Who were you when you got pregnant? How did you hear about free birth? How did you align with it? Why did you choose it? And what did that look like for you in your pregnancy?
So I think when the free birth seed got planted in my head was when my brother-in-law, Luke Story, interviewed Yolanda. And when the episode came out, he was like, hey, check this out, listen to this. And hearing that episode, it just blew my mind. And at that time, I was in LA and I already knew I wanted to have a home birth. I just wanted to. But I was even more blown away that I could just do this on my own without even anyone, a doula or a midwife. And so that seed got planted. And so that same month when the episode got released, Cody, my husband, and I left LA and bought a house in Idaho so I could, have a stress-free pregnancy in nature.
Awesome.
So we moved. I took out my copper IUD, and we were planning a conscious conception by the end of 2021, last year. I was keeping track of, my ovulation and stuff like that. And I was eating really nourishing foods. And that month in September, I got pregnant, and I took a pregnancy test because Cody's friend came and we were going to trip on psilocybin. And during that time, I was like, I should see if I'm pregnant or not, because I really didn't want to, be pregnant and trip. So I took the test and it came out positive, and Cody was like, well, just double check, take it again. So I took another one, and there's a picture of me where I wasn't surprised. I was just like, this is happening.
Right.
This is really happening. I guess I'm not going to trip tonight on psilocybin. And so
you'll just trip on being pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. I purchased the complete guide to Freebirth shortly after because I really wanted to, educate myself. And I love processes. So I wanted to learn the physiological process. So it was a godsend. And I was so enthusiastic to share with my friends and family that I wanted to free birth. And I had no idea that it was going to be so triggering and that I was going to get the reaction I got. And every single one of them, they were resisting it.
Damn.
And they right away talked about, horror stories, because there are no good stories, I guess, that they've heard. And when I told my mom, she was more concerned with, well, why don't you go see a doctor right now? And so I had a wild pregnancy. I had no intention of going to see the doctor. And I feel like that's just always kind of been a thing for me. I've never really, even having a headache, I never even wanted to take Tylenol. I just kind of ride it out. And I never really relied on going to see the doctor and stuff like that. Cause I knew that I'm healthy. Like I eat such good food, and, we're living in a great environment now. And so I was totally confident that whatever was happening was happening.
So how was your partner's response? Was he on board with you, or was there resistance?
No, I'm so grateful that we're on the same page with everything. We just believe in, the biological and evolutionary approach to living. And he was totally on board. And he actually was watching a lot of the videos too. And what's funny is, at that time, well, before I got pregnant, I was asking, people in town, oh, like, do you know of any midwives or doulas? And they're like, no, nobody lives here. I mean, there's some that are 2 hours away. Mm-hmm. And so I got some phone numbers, and this was before I took the module where it talks about, having an undisturbed birth. And so I didn't feel a calling to even call them yet. I like saving money too. So having to pay for someone to help me do all this didn't sound, I don't know, it didn't resonate with me. And so after taking one of the modules and, it explaining that having an undisturbed birth is how to optimally have a peaceful and blissful birth was essential. And so for me, my motivation to have a free birth was more like, if I can maximize having a good looking baby, like, nothing messing up the process, messing up my baby coming out or anything, and him just being really peaceful and not being traumatized, like, why not? Of course I'm going to do that for him. I'm going to go all in for that. And so that was the big motivator for me.
So what was it like to come to those realizations and then have all the other people besides your partner like fundamentally disagree?
It was so hard. It led to a lot of boundaries and disconnection. I felt so frustrated, and I was even pushing off telling my sister about it. She's a nurse, and I know she's totally indoctrinated in that stuff. And when I decided to share with her that I was pregnant, and the first thing she asked was, so do you have a OB? And I was like,
it is a weird first question, huh?
Yeah.
Not like, how are you feeling? How are you?
Yeah,
So weird.
exactly. And I said, no, I haven't seen one. And, I was telling her that I was drinking raw milk and kombucha, and she just totally, it like flipped her out. And she was just saying, you can read all the hippy dippy books you want, but you really need to go see a doctor.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I can't with that. Oh my God. That makes me so
And
angry. It's just
yeah.
it's so rude. It's just so rude. It's just not how you treat women.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay. So what do you do? Are you like, ew, gross? Like, what, how do you even respond to that?
Well, I feel like being the baby sister, I've just been so used to just saying, just kind of showing indifference, like, okay,
Uh,
mm-hmm,
mhm.
just listening, not really reacting because I don't want to cause conflict.
Gotcha.
And even said, you really should go get an ultrasound because my friend had one and her baby's stomach was small. And so she had to get induced. So you should go get checked in case. And
They're just like little puppets. It's like these little scripts. Ugh. Okay.
And so I got off the phone with her and just bawled out crying. And I was telling Cody, like, I don't feel good. That conversation with my sister didn't feel good.
Mhm.
And so I had to set a boundary and I blocked her because I didn't want to hear from her. And that was really hard. And even with my mom, every time I called her, just wanted to share, baby's kicking and all this stuff. She was just like, you really should go get a blood test. You should go do these things. And so I stopped calling her.
Totally.
I couldn't share the joys of pregnancy with my mom.
Sucks.
And with my in-laws, that was even bigger, that we wanted a free birth, that I wanted a free birth. And Cody's dad ends up, sending us articles and just saying, well, what if you have a breech baby? What if you have placenta previa? What if you hemorrhage, right? The typical
What if you got
question.
out of my business?
Yeah. Yeah. And I was surprised that my in-laws could even think that me, not even really their daughter, that I would even care.
Did
You know?
you know any women who home birthed?
Nope.
Damn.
I did not know any women who home birthed. And even my close friends, they've never been pregnant. So they didn't even understand much about birth. And so I shared it with my best friend, and I felt like I had to prove, that what I was doing, like I was like sending her like, here's a stack of books I'm reading. I felt like I had to do that because she wasn't like, oh my God, that's amazing. She was like, okay, as long as you're safe, as long as you and your baby are safe, And so, and I told another friend, and she was just like, are you sure you want to do that? I just feel like you and Cody are going to be overwhelmed. And she's never given birth, And I was like, okay. So I just had to disconnect myself from my friends and family. And
But you never wavered. Like, it sounds like you just totally had clarity.
I knew it. There was no way. And there was no way to compromise. And even Cody's dad was like, why don't you can you still just have a natural birth in the hospital while everyone's standing by in case? No.
So stupid. Could you guys learn anything?
Yeah.
Even in the zoo, they know to leave the birthing animal alone, but no one does that to the human woman.
Yeah. So it was a lot of spiritual, like, diving deep, and I really wanted to protect my energetic force field. And that's why I had to disconnect myself from all the negativity.
Thank God your partner was cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can stand in a lot of strength, particularly with your guy at your back. I mean, that's so helpful. Women do it even without that too, but it's hard.
Yeah, he was definitely my first line of defense.
Yeah, totally. Okay, wow. So then you joined the RBK school.
Yes.
Thank
Oh
God.
my God. Thank goodness. I was so happy about it. I just wanted sisterhood. I wanted like-minded women, and it was a godsend because that's what I found in it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy about that. And it was fun just to be pregnant while the school was happening and, meeting other pregnant women and moms. So now I'm in that community because I didn't have that at all before.
Okay. And so what else do you want to share about your pregnancy?
Well, it was a wild one and it just went really smooth. I made sure, I got a lot of walks every day and I just ate nourishing foods and I felt good for the most part.
And what about this kind of cutting off of friends and family? I mean, if you're already living in Idaho, kind of away from everybody, I don't know. It just feels, it sounds kind of lonely to be going through such a huge rite of passage, transformation. Yeah. Anything more about that? Just like the work of pregnancy that you want to
Yeah.
share?
Yeah. I felt very alone and I feel like I really I had to think about what was important for me and my baby. Cause even talking to my family, I could feel the stress and I knew I didn't even want my baby to feel that. So I felt very in tuned with my baby. And yeah, I just really had to protect that for both of us and for the whole family unit.
And then after he was born, did you welcome them all back in? Like, does it feel mended now, or?
I had to keep an arm's distance still, definitely from family. I didn't even want anyone to visit. I wanted to give myself even like 60 days until anyone came because I didn't want anyone's energy to, well, one, tell me what to do, how to raise my baby. And yeah, I was still very hurt.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because on the one hand, once you've done it and you've gotten the baby here, I think a lot of family relaxes and can even shift into celebrating. But the work or the like the tone of just how condescending, all of that was, it doesn't like go away. Like the different, pediatrician and food and nursing, like they're going to have opinions on everything. And so that's tricky to, right, figure out how to speak up. And I tell so many women, like, yeah, if your family, if your friends like don't fucking respect you, then I don't really see how you can be in relationship with them, because this is so revealing. It's so hurtful and it's so revealing. And it's like either they get in line or they don't get access to this
Hmm.
whole, new part of their family, which is nuts. So how
Yeah.
has that been for you?
Well, it feels like everything kind of got brushed under the rug once he was
Okay.
born. There was no apologies, like even from my sister. It was just like, I'm so happy for you. And yeah, I've learned to let that go, but still kind of protect my force field.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I can't completely be vulnerable now in that sense.
Have you ever actually like aired it out with any of them?
No, it was kind of just like, well, what do you think now? Are you
Mhm.
relieved now? Can you go to bed now? It wasn't, yeah, that was pretty much it.
So anything else you want to share about your pregnancy before we move into your birth story?
I'm just so happy that it was very easeful. Yeah, I
Seriously.
felt I felt good in my body and I find that, even though what happened with my family, it really helped me to strengthen myself spiritually and mentally
Hmm.
and set boundaries too for myself, which I've never done in my entire life.
Yeah, becoming a mother will do that, right?
Hmm.
So, like, what did you trip on? What was scary? What was hard? what was the like what if stuff, if anything? Was it just like total pure confidence, or was there, like shit you had to work out to really get yourself in the zone to do this, to have a free birth?
I had complete confidence. I did not doubt my body's capabilities and my baby's capabilities, just because I've just been healthy my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And Cody has been too. So I didn't doubt anything at all. I just love challenges in a sense. Like I've hiked tall mountains and I've done pilgrimages alone in Japan. And I just feel like it's just within me.
Love that. Simple.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell us your story. When does it
Wow.
all start?
So it started Thursday morning when I had your self-mastery class. I woke up early. Yeah, I actually woke up extra early to make pancakes. I was so hungry and I was hoping to make it to your class actually, but I didn't. I go back to sleep because I felt so exhausted and I didn't know why. And I muster up the energy to go to Yolanda's breakout session, but I was just completely out of it. And I was kind of just staring into the screen. I couldn't even share anything. And so that night, going to bed, my waters break. It's funny because I guess the only thing, it was kind of like, what is this all going to feel like when it happens? That was what was going on in my head. And my waters break and I'm like, what does this mean? And then I stand up and then, I get 3 more gushes and it's going down my leg. And I'm even like on the toilet on my phone, looking at the complete guide to Freebirth, like water's breaking. Now what? Oh, there was a pink tinge in my water and in the fluid. And I was like, what does this mean? Because I just wanted to know, the process. I go back to bed and I get like a mild cramp. And I'm like, oh, is this a sensation? This must be a sensation. And then it kind of goes away and I'm able to go to bed. And then I don't get any more sensations. Then the next morning rolls around, which is we do case studies. You're on there with Yolanda and we're doing case studies on different births. And my waters are just continuing to drip down my leg. And like I'm messaging, my classmates on Zoom, like, hey, like, I think this is happening right now. Water is currently leaking. I still felt good energetically. And at that time on Friday, I give Cody the list of things to do, like deep clean the bedroom, the bathroom. Here are all the things I want you to get to stock the fridge up. And so he does all of that. Nighttime rolls around and I'm making coleslaw. And then I feel a more intense sensation to the point where I had to like take a break on the counter, At this point, hearing all the stories on the Free Birth Society podcast, we know that waters can be open for days. So I didn't want to have any kind of expectation. So both Cody and I were like, expect this to go on to be like a 5 to 6 day journey. And so that was what we did. I end up playing some music, some like Krishna Das, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be the kind of woman to want music and all this stuff, but I go onto the toilet to pee while the music is playing and the sensations get even more intense. And I even had to stop mid pee to turn off the music because I couldn't handle any sounds. And yeah, Cody sets up all around the bed like workout pads in case I wanted to kneel. And so that night I go to bed and I can't even fall asleep because I really start to feel the sensations. And I try to change positions, kneeling on the workout mats with my forearms on the bed. And this whole time for me, in terms of position and what comforted me the most or what made me comfortable was being in a reclined position. So I even blew up the big stability ball thinking I would be able to roll on it, but that didn't feel good at all. And so, yeah, that's happening all of Friday night and I don't get any sleep and the sun comes up and I'm like, thank God another day has gone by, and I still don't know how long this is all gonna last. And Saturday morning rolls around and I still feel the sensations. And of course, I'm not timing it or anything. I'm just going with it. And the whole time I'm saying, I can do this out loud because I know women have done it. So that was my mantra. I can do this. And even before all this, I visualized having a water birth. And after hearing one of the modules talking about water births, it sounded kind of complicated. And our bedroom is upstairs, and that's where I would have wanted to give birth. And having a tub up there with a long enough hose, it just sounded complicated. And it's not like I'm a crazy water person. I have really dry skin. So I was happy to want to do a land birth. But I took one of our classmates' advice, Felicity, and she said, you know, if you don't have a tub, you can just always take a hot shower. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I went into the shower hoping like the sensations would stop for some reason, but they definitely came back. But it was nice to just change the environment up.
Yeah.
So after I took a shower, I went downstairs, laid on the couch, and actually that night, Friday night, I actually purged. I puked all of the pulled pork and coleslaw.
Ugh,
And yeah,
that
hearing
sucks.
hearing stories on some women having diarrhea or vomit, I was hoping I wouldn't have either. But yeah, I did end up vomiting. And so yeah, the next morning I actually vomit again. And Cody's concern actually was like me not being able to keep my fluids down. And
But
during
that's
this
not
time,
gonna happen till like you're puking 25, 30 times, you know,
okay.
like a couple pukes, just for anyone listening. No big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. And I was very on top of, you know, drinking my electrolytes and drinking my water. I had it like right there. And so I'm laying on the couch and Yolanda messages me and she's like, how are you feeling? And I can't even like text on my phone. And I just like give a voice message and I'm just like, I'm in pain. I can't talk right now. And what I was fascinated with this whole thing while that was happening was Cody recorded me actually. And I was just making these like really weird faces to cope with the sensations. And I had to breathe differently every time I felt a different kind of sensation. So yeah, that's what helped me get through it. And I couldn't stand any kind of noise, even the faucet turning on. I was just like, I need silence to focus on my body. And so yeah, I'm on the couch and there's a point where I actually say, I can't do this. I can't do this. And it was more in terms of not that like I can't do this, I want to go to the hospital and transfer. It was more like
Sure.
I can't do this in the agony
Mm-hmm.
that I was feeling. And Cody was just comforting me. He was like my complete rock. And at that time, you know, before it all started, I wasn't sure if I was just going to want to be alone in the bathroom, but it was so important for me that he was there, like just sitting next to me and me squeezing his hand. And he was like, you can do this. Do you remember when you did these hikes and you made it through and the marathons you ran and the pain you've endured? Yeah, that really helped me. And so this is 9 a.m. where I'm on the couch. I haven't had any sleep. And so I decide to go upstairs and I feel like I have to poop. And Cody actually says, you know what? Why don't you take a nap? Because in all the stories I've heard, you know, a lot of women end up like taking a little nap on the couch, right? And resting. And so he's like, why don't you just go to sleep? Try to. And I say, okay, I'll do that. So I'm laying in bed in a reclined position and I'm actually able to knock out in and out of sleep. And that was probably for like an hour. And I wake up and suddenly I try to go to my side and I feel a shift in contractions, like 10 times the intensity. And I'm like, ooh, like, what does this mean? I still feel like I have to poo. And then I get up. And so this whole time I'm naked and I see like I'm spotting. And so I wasn't concerned, like, oh, like, is this bad? It was kind of like, does this mean I'm close? So I call Yolanda and I'm on the toilet and I tell her that I feel like I have to poop and I'm spotting and what does this mean? And she said, everything sounds completely fine and normal. Spotting can happen. And then I asked her the big question and I said, how long is this going to last? And she says to me, oh, it could be 2 days. It could be 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right. So I end up not pooping, no poop comes out, but I feel this really deep pressure, you know, and I've never attended births at all, by the way. So I have no idea what really is happening in like a chronological order.
Mhm.
And so after I leave the bathroom, Cody said something completely like shifted in me. Like it was like game on. And so I am kneeling on next to my bed with my forearms on the bed, and these involuntary contractions or pushes are happening where I feel like my butthole and my vagina is just maximized, like pushing out. And it's crazy because that time, every time it was happening, I would scream at the top of like my lungs. And I've never screamed in that way. It just came out. And even the dogs were coming upstairs wondering what was going on, like sound like someone was getting murdered or something. And the windows were closed. But Cody was getting hot because it was cold at that time. And so we had a wood burning oven. And so it was really heating up upstairs. And I was fine, but he kept wanting to open the window and close it. And it's crazy because I even like felt self-conscious, like, are the neighbors going to hear me? So I was like, can you just keep the windows closed? Because I didn't want to like, like hold in my screams.
Yeah.
And so this is going on for like 30 minutes and I have no idea what's happening. And we have poopy wipes in case poop is coming out. And I keep telling Cody to check, like, what's happening? Am I pooping? And so while that was happening, I was thinking, wow, like, do I have this many? I've never taken ayahuasca, but I was like, is this all this like the demons coming out of me with, my screams? And I say to myself, I need to break this cycle. Maybe if I stand up, all of this is going to stop. So I muster up enough energy to stand up. And of course, it continues, the pushes, the involuntary pushes. And I'm standing and I'm leaning on Cody and I'm just screaming in his ears and leaning on him. And I just naturally want to touch down there. And so I touch my vagina and I feel a head, my baby's head. And I'm like to Cody, oh my God, is that the baby's head? And then he looks under and he's like, yeah. And it was suddenly like, oh my God, this is really happening.
Mhm.
It's not 5 days, like it's happening right now. And so, hearing all the stories, I know that there is no rush to like get baby out. So I'm just like breathing, trying to get more energy back. And that time I'm telling Cody, like, I don't have enough energy to squat down. Like I have to stand. And he's like, it's fine. And so I decide to push, and then I feel the ring of fire. And so I take another deep breath and then I push through the ring of fire because I've heard if you feel it, you got to push through it. And then his head pops out. That was like the third push. And then I kind of just do another push. While that was happening, Cody was saying that the head was retreating, or my lips were covering, the baby's head, and then coming out and then retreating a little more and then coming out more. And yeah, I do a final like fifth push and the baby comes out and Cody is kneeling and grabs it, or, catches it, fluid comes out and then hands it to me as I'm standing.
It.
And sorry, my baby.
That weird thing.
Yeah. And he doesn't cry immediately. He kind of, takes a little pause and does like a wah, wah, wah sound. And I guess you could say my only concern was like, am I going to be able to tell if it's a male or female? I don't know. I just felt
Do you have that problem in your life?
No. I was just thinking that a baby's, genitals would just be so small, it would be hard to tell. But that's how much I've never like been around newborns. And so I look,
you're like, get the magnifying glass.
So I look and I'm like, Cody, is this a boy? And he's like, yes, Emily, that's a boy. Don't you see?
That's hilarious. You need like a side by side.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, it's baby Bjorn. Because we already had names ready for if we had a boy or a girl. And I said, this is Bjorn. And yeah, the feeling I had when he came out, I felt it wasn't it was very like focused, like, okay, this is happening. I'm gonna check my umbilical cord and then, see if it's pulsating and see like analyze him. And I actually, even though he cried, I did the football hold because I heard gurgling.
Hmm.
And so I did the football hold and just tipped him over a little bit, but I wasn't sure if I was supposed to do that because he was crying anyways. But it was, yeah. But I did that. And then, yeah, I'm just in total awe. And at that moment, everything was just filled with light and the room was warm. And we just take a moment to take it all in. And Cody grabs the camera. And, I wish I had filmed the emergence, but at that time we didn't know how long this whole thing was going to last. So 4 minutes after, I have footage of holding Bjorn in my arms, and I attempt to shove my boob in his mouth, and I think he was still landing on earth because he didn't take it. And I made sure at that time that Cody kept track of the time, and so I ended up going into bed, and Cody was like, it's been 30 minutes. And I said, okay, I think I want to birth my placenta. I felt a little bit of cramping. And so I go up onto a tall kneeling position holding Bjorn, and we put a little potty in between my legs, and I do like the cough, and then I just do a little push and it plops right out.
A potty's a smart idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it fits right between the knees. And then I lay back down and I feel amazing. Mm. And then an hour later, he latches on. Nice. And it was just such a beautiful feeling. I wanted to do a lotus birth. And I also had one of my neighbors make us a cord burning box in case, the cord might have been cold and he didn't enjoy it. But he actually didn't mind his cold cord on his body. And I was just surprised at how fast the umbilical cord dries up.
Yeah.
Like so fast.
Especially
and so
even faster if it stays attached.
Yeah.
So when did it fall off?
So we kept changing out the salt.
Gotcha.
And the herbs. And I wish we did it upstairs, because after that night, I actually walked down the stairs. So I did quite a bit of walking every day.
No.
And yeah, I think in hindsight, I would have just wanted to just stay upstairs. But, it's just that mentality of like, yeah, why not? I feel okay. Let's do this. So we kept changing out the salt. And so it was like day 4. Bjorn's umbilical cord was like hanging by a thread. And I think he like grabbed it. Yeah. And like was tugging on it. And I think it was causing him discomfort. We were like, ooh, like maybe we should just like cut it off. And so we asked him, and we're like, Bjorn, would it be okay if we just cut your cord off now? And then he was kind of like, wah! And we're like, okay.
He's like, save me.
Yeah, we'll take that as a yes. And so Cody grabbed scissors, and that didn't cut it off. He had to grab his wire cutters. Mm-hmm. That's how strong it was. And so we snipped it off. And the next day, Bjorn rolled onto his belly, and the thing completely fell off.
Yeah.
But it's so beautiful at how the placenta looked. Mm-hmm. And we ended up drying it, and it ended up it looks like a dried mochi. And now we have it in like a Ziploc bag for Bjorn to look at when he gets a little older.
So what was your first couple days and weeks into postpartum like? How does your healing go? Like what is that initiation like for you?
So postpartum, at that time, my mom, all of our parents were like, can we come as soon as the baby is born? And because I wanted to protect my force field, I was like, no, like give me 60 days. I'll think about it.
So your partner was able to stay home, I'm assuming?
So we both work remotely.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank God. So you had him to meet your needs.
Oh, you could say that. But I feel like, we agreed that 2 weeks he was going to take off. And I was like, are you sure you can handle this? Like, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of work. And I feel like, women naturally are more nurturing. And he said he was able to handle it. And we didn't prepare anything. We don't really have any, close friends in town. to like do a meal train, and I didn't prepare anything like that. I just thought, we're just gonna Instapot it.
I don't know if it's true. I don't know if I agree that women are naturally more nurturing. I guess like if we were to do a spectrum of all the females and all the males on the planet, like the arc would be towards women, but I do think it's factually true that women can handle multiple things at once.
Yes, that is what I meant.
In a way that, men their brains are very one task at a time, which absolutely has its place in the household. But women just, they are like cooking while nursing, while texting their friend, while listening to a podcast, while planning the next meal, while working a job.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, he is your primary support. I mean, you don't have other people, right?
No. And so, day 3 rolls around, and I know that you mentioned in the Complete Guide to Free Birth that might be a day where I break down and cry. Well, it came on day 6 where I didn't eat for 7 hours. I was so hungry. Oh, no. So Cody ended up actually deciding to take some sales calls within the 2 weeks, and
left you starving.
Yes. So I was hangry.
Cody.
And mad and sad, and I'm just crying because I was hungry, and I was also missing my mom. I was wishing she was there to, share these moments of my baby with me, and I didn't have that. And then at that same time as I was crying, I felt guilty that I was crying because Bjorn's right here. Now he can feel my sad energy.
That's okay. Okay. Yeah, and that you like chose it, like you chose. Your mom wanted to come and you said no. That's complicated.
Yeah And I was hoping that I would get nourishing foods, but Cody's limited on what he makes, and so it was just a lot of just hamburger meat and salad. And I must say it was hard. Bummer. And I wish that I did have the postpartum support. I actually ended up having my mom-in-law come sooner than I wanted, at that time. So she came 2 weeks later, and I was thinking, oh, like this is going to be great. Like she's going to know how to take care of me. But actually it was like quite a big regret. Yeah. And I felt like she was tiptoeing around. I felt like I had to ask her to do stuff for me, and that's just awkward. And
totally. And why her and not your mom?
So my mom was still in Thailand at the time, and she had just kind of gotten there a month ago, and I kind of just wanted her to make the best of it, not like rush to come here and shorten her trip. So
And where does she live?
She lives part-time Bangkok, part-time LA.
Okay. That sucks. Yeah. So with mother-in-law, I mean, you just don't have the same comfort of just
exactly.
Totally.
And it just got really awkward with like her negativity and her own, maiden wounds. Yeah. And I felt like even at that time, I really, I'm exclusively breastfeeding. And so Bjorn's always with me. And it was a lot of like, well, I just want a picture with Bjorn. Like, can I just hold him? Do you want me to hold him? I'm like, no, like, and it's just weird stuff happening. So I think that was a regret. And I try to open up my heart to let her come over. But I never really understood postpartum until being pregnant and experiencing it and feeling how important it is.
Of course. I do think it's one of those things that, shy of, if you have been with 100 women in their first 2 weeks of postpartum, okay, then you do have a sense of what it's like, but shy of that, I think the vast majority of women are just like brutally initiated, because how you don't know who the hell you are until you go through that. I mean, because who you are is getting reestablished. The vulnerability, the sensitivity, even the hunger and thirst are so weird. I mean, just all of it is just so, the relationship to the baby, sometimes the very dark thoughts, the expansion. Yeah. Why would anyone know? You know, no one talks about it. It's weird.
Yeah. And so I feel like a lot revealed during postpartum.
So was it hard on your relationship?
I would say there were moments where it was definitely hard, where I kind of, questioned everything. Like even myself and my sexuality.
Another fucking salad.
Yeah. I even questioned myself and how attractive am I now? And now I'm a mom and I'm not the maiden I was. And I felt like I aged overnight. And it was so much acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Acceptance of my body and my identity now, where I'm at. And a lot of letting go.
Who are you now, 4 months postpartum?
I feel like it's been such a gift because it's now shifted my consciousness towards loving others more, loving moms more, loving women more. And there's something about the connectivity that I found in the RBK school. And if it wasn't, for me being pregnant, I would have felt isolated. Even who I am, being not being pregnant, not having a baby, I felt isolated from friends and family in terms of, views and values and beliefs. So being able to give birth and be pregnant has brought me to come to this point now with a bunch of sisters that I love so much. And now perhaps I'm more respected from my sister and my mom, maybe, I don't know, that, that things are okay, that I can discern, what I want to do. And I've just come out of this more, it was such a powerful experience. And I feel like I'm the protector of my baby as much as I can control, right? There's going to be moments where there's things I can't control, but being able to protect him as best as I can.
And setting him up for success based on your value system, right? Which is like the right of the mother.
Yeah.
Well, I love your birth story. I love just like, it's so simple and it's so epic at the same time,
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
And that's it for today, my sisters. Check out everything we do, including one-on-one and group coaching, learn about our private membership, in-person retreats, and more on freebirthsociety.com. Our online courses are on freebirthsocietycourses.com, including our flagship course, The Complete Guide to Free Birth. Don't miss the Radical Birthkeeper School if you're ready to become the authentic midwife that women are searching for. Together we rise, and the revolution starts inside each of us. I'll leave you with our Free Birth Society theme song, Wild Woman by Aruba Red.
I honor you for the wisdom you held, the ancient traditions of plant medicine and womb magic. I feel the spirit of the ancestors as I place my hands upon my belly. This sacred portal will be honored. Eons upon light beams of survival, withstanding the eradication of our power by design. I will not allow the separation of our young to be forced upon me. My sisters will no longer birth in captivity. The picket line redefined from burning our wild women to paralyzing us and drugging our babes. Strapped down in a clinical white bed, drying up the milk from our breasts. Keep your needles. My family will never again be doomed to chase those dragons or your poison. We reject your fear. We choose love. Everything with intention. Death, ascension. I will fly and bring her back from the stars. Conscious